Hey, this is Dan at Ruffstuff coming at you. We're about a week before King of the Hammers 2017. Kind of busy around here, getting ready. You guys got to be sure to watch our King of the Hammers training video. Very funny shit and true. Very funny stuff and true, just in case. This one we're going to talk about misalignment. Not high misalignment, but misalignment or spacers. They can be used in a variety of ways, but they're primarily used with a rod end or Heim joint to give you, or to fill a bracket space, to give the misalignment without the joint hitting the bracket, but retaining the full-size bolt diameter of the joint. We're going to start off with a 3/4 spacer. You look at it, here's the 3/4 bore, 7/8 3/4 Heim. Here's the 3/4 3/4 Heim. You plug it in there, it's the same dimension as the joint itself. So you can still use a 3/4 bolt. It's just going to keep going right through the spacer without reducing the size. You don't get an additional misalignment out of it, but you get the maximum factory misalignment out of it. In most applications, you really don't need the additional misalignment, because when you take this to a factory misalignment, if you can look at that angle, that's anywhere from 22 to 28 degrees depending on the joint. And if you do the math on your vehicle, I would say you're going to be hard pressed to get above that for misalignment. So sometimes you want to go for the bolt size for maximum strength, and you'd use just a spacer or standard misalignment. They'd call it a standard misalignment or a high misalignment. This is a standard misalignment, where when you go to the full wrap, it stops at the factory distance of just the rod end, which is fine in most applications. And you get a bigger bolt out of it, a little more strength. I'm going to say a 1 3/4 bolt is a monster strength, but a 5/8 bolt and a 9/16 bolt and a 1/2 inch bolt are all really strong. Maximum, of course, you want a 3/4 bolt, but if you're really worried that much about strength, you should go to a larger rod end. But there's the 3/4 spacer. We get down, we make these. This is a 5/8 spacer. Does the same thing for a smaller Heim. It's really straightforward, no real challenge to it. It's the same as everything else. Then we get down even smaller, we have a 1/2 inch spacer, which brings it down to a 3/8 bolt. Does the same thing with a smaller rod end. All straightforward, all pretty basic, all out of stainless steel. It's a 303 stainless steel. They're as strong as they need to be because the bolt is doing the work. They're just under compression, you know, in between the rod end and the face of the bracket. They retain the same misalignment width of a high misalignment. So this is a 2-inch spacer for a 7/8 or 3/4. It's a 1.5 for a 5/8 or 1/2. Quite a bit smaller, but that's a smaller, you know, you look at a 5/8 and a 7/8 Heim, and you get the idea of strength, or a 1 1/4 Heim, and you really get the idea of strength. You know, if you're trying to run this to do this's job, this is not going to hold up. There's nothing wrong with them for strength, but you've got to size it appropriately for the application. A misalignment spacer or just plain spacer, you could simply cut a tube and use it to fill the gap. The only issue with that is that it's going to rust. There's not a question of if it rusts, it's going to rust. And when. You know, in a lot of cases, it simply doesn't matter. But I'm not that vain, but I think it looks like crap. And you might as well, for a small cost, keep it looking nice. And stainless is not going to rust on you, so be happy. They're pretty easy to use, they're easy to understand, and thanks for watching. We're having a cold ass day here, and I don't like it.